What's up, everybody? SuperDurks fan here for another weekly update. So lots of interesting news to go over this week. The first, though, is we finally have all the details here on the brand new 2018 Porsche 911 GT2 RS, which is really quite a vehicle. So all the details here on it. It runs a pumped up version of the 3.8 liter flat six motor from the 911 Turbo S, but it does 700 horsepower. That's 80 more than the last GT2 RS. 553 pound-feet of torque. And obviously 700 horsepower from a 3.6 liter six-cylinder engine is going to get pretty hot. So they're using water injection to keep everything nice and cool. They only are going to be available with the Porsche PDK transmission, no manual, but that's because they say this is all about outright performance and just the fastest thing possible. So 0 to 60, thanks to that PDK, is 2.7 seconds. And it's just only rear-wheel drive, by the way. This is not all-wheel drive like the Turbo S is. So to put down 700 horsepower to the rear wheels and do 2.7 seconds 0 to 60 is really impressive. I mean, really, the only thing that could keep up with it potentially is the Demon as far as rear-wheel drive, vehicles like that. So, I mean, really crazy. 211 mile per hour top speed as well, and that's pretty impressive as well considering the crazy downforce this thing has. I mean, you got the huge spoiler and everything's about handling and all that kind of stuff, and so usually that compromises top speed, but it doesn't sound like that's the case with this. And as far as the tire setup, it's got 265s in the front and 325s in the rear. So very aggressive tires there, especially in the back. Carbon ceramic brakes are also standard here on the GT2 RS, so it's really racy. And if it's not racy enough, though, you can upgrade it because I mean, all the GT2 RSs have upgraded hoods that have those little new vents there. You can see this front splitter is more aggressive, and a lot of things are made from carbon fiber. Like that hood, the door mirrors, side air intakes, a bunch of the rear end. Interior components, all those types of things are all carbon fiber, so it's super lightweight. They say the wet weight normally is 3,241 pounds. But if you want it to get even lighter and more hardcore, there's going to be a Weissich package that you might remember they had the same package for the 918s. And so that does even more aggressive stuff here. It shaves off an additional 40 pounds of weight. And so that adds even more carbon fiber and lightweight stuff. And so with that package, you get the roof in carbon fiber, the anti-roll bars in carbon fiber, and the coupling rods are also in carbon fiber. And that one also gives you magnesium wheels. The standard GT2 RS has a magnesium roof to help with keeping the weight down, but then you get carbon fiber here for this package. And then the Weissich package also has this body colored stripe that goes down the center top of the car and looks pretty cool as well. And then as far as the interior, it's this red Alcantara you can see here. I believe that's for the Weissich package. I think you could obviously probably get different colors in normal GT2 RSs. And then there's black leather as well. Carbon fiber all throughout the interior. The rear seat has been deleted, and instead there's a roll cage now for additional rollover protection and improved rigidity. And they also say that there's going to be an enhanced version of the Chrono package, which now includes a stopwatch in the digital infotainment display, and it also will be able to track your lap times and things like that, which is all very cool. But the GT2 RS is expensive, but I mean, with how they mark up all these Porsches anyway, once they finally get them ordered, I'm sure it'll probably even go up from here. But you can a base MSRP for a GT2 RS, it's gonna be $294,250, and that includes about a $1,000 delivery fee. And if you want that Weissich package to make it more aggressive, that's an additional $31,000. So I mean, very easy to conceive with all of Porsche's options lists. You can probably get one of these even close to 400 grand fully loaded, which is pretty crazy. Anyway, they're going to be available if you want to order one here soon. They're going to be hitting U.S. dealers in the early part of 2018. So very crazy to see that. Some other Porsche news was the GT2 RS, or GT3 RS, I should say, was spied as well. So the GT3 is, the naturally aspirated one, for those that might get a little confused by all the numbers and letters. So we already have obviously the current GT3 RS, and so this is just a light refresh to it. I don't know why, because it's only been out for like a year, but Porsche is really quick about constantly bringing out new models, which is good. I'm not complaining. So anyway, you can see here from the spy shots, it's going to have the new style front bumper that all the GT3s, the standard GT3s get, and so you'll get that here for the RS. You also get those new little hood vents that are actually... They look like hood vents, but they actually cool the brake ducts, because obviously these are all rear-engine vehicles. So those vents in the hood there go down and cool off the brakes. But yeah, so that's going to incorporate those off of the GT2 RS here on the GT3 RS. And they also say there's probably going to be a power bump, considering the standard GT3 is now 400 horsepower. So you can see this at like 420 to 440 horsepower. There's also rumors that it could get a displacement bump to 4.2 liters instead of the standard 4-liter flat six. So all good news there, and should make for an even better GT3 RS. So very cool to see that. Some other German news from the Volkswagen Group here is the UK's Auto Express magazine was talking with Stefan Winkelmann, who used to be the CEO of Lamborghini, now is the CEO of Audi Sport, which is the new Quattro. What was the Quattro Sport division, now Audi Sport, their AMG division essentially. And they were talking with him, and he made some interesting comments. And he said, I can imagine we can also have cars with rear-wheel drive or two-wheel drive in the future. So I think he's talking about possibly front-wheel drive hot hatch or rear-wheel drive versions of whatever it is that they're developing. Which is really interesting, because obviously Audi Quattro, it's been like Subaru, or it's like synonymous with all-wheel drive. Now Subaru obviously has branched out with the BRZ, and I think Audi's looking to do the same with some kind of rear-wheel drive car. Because apparently last week also Top Gear reported in an article that they said that Audi's already working on a rear-wheel drive version of the R8, and so this would fit in with those comments, and everything fits together here. They're going to be doing more rear-wheel drive stuff. And Stefan Winkelmann also added that adding Quattro can be a company, but it can also be an option. So I think he's just saying, it used to be, even here in the States, we did get some front-wheel drive Audis, and Quattro was an option, I think, on the A3s and things like that. So, this isn't like radically new or anything, but just interesting to hear, for the sporty models, that they're also going to possibly be two-wheel drive in some applications. And then they also are saying that Stefan Winkelmann said that they're working on electric RS models. They're fully electric vehicles, and they'll be showing 2 new Audi Sport models at the Frankfurt Auto Show in September. So we'll just have to wait and see what those are. But anyway, very interesting to hear that. Other Audi news is if you're into superhero movies, then you probably will have already heard that Audi has a large product placement in the new Spiderman Homecoming movie that's coming out here this week. And so at the premiere, they showed an Audi A8 that was covered in camouflage that looked like spider webs. It was interesting. But it's kind of poorly timed, because they're not actually fully revealing the A8 until next week. But apparently the new A8 makes a cameo in Spider-Man. You'll be able to see it uncamouflaged for a few split seconds, supposedly, and there'll be other Audi models, I suppose, in the movie. But it was interesting to see, even with the camouflage there, you do get a pretty good clear look at the headlights, which have a new little LED element there that almost looks like a Mustang with those 3 little LED hash marks, although they're on the other side of the projector instead of on the left side there. But anyway, it looks good. Again, it's a conservative Audi large sedan. Wasn't expecting anything too radical, but it is toned down a lot over the Prologue concept and other concepts like that. So, not a super exciting design personally, but we'll have to wait and reserve judgment for when we see the full car unveiled next week. So anyway, interesting to see that. Some interesting news, a few interesting AMG stories from Mercedes-AMG here. The first one is Autocar has a report out this week, and they're talking about the new A45 AMG, which we get over here as the CLA45 and GLA45 AMGs, and they currently do 375 horsepower in their current trim. Now, we know there's going to be new models coming based on the new A-Class, which we may also get the new A-Class hatchback here in the States, but regardless, what they're saying here in this report is that it's going to get a power bump, which shouldn't be much of a surprise to anyone. But they're saying it's going to be at least 400 horsepower, which is a nice little bump there. And so that'll make the new CLAs and whatnot very, very impressive performers. And so cool to hear that. The really interesting news that we've heard this past week about AMG is a new report according to Wheels Magazine. They're saying that the new CLS AMG, which they're saying is going to be due March of 2018 is when they're revealing that. They're saying that's going to be hybrid, and it's going to reveal this new powertrain for AMG that they're going to be trickling down to other models in the future. So it's going to be, what they're saying is they're going to do a 3-liter turbo inline 6 engine, and that's going to be paired with an electric motor, and the engine's going to make about 430 horsepower on its own, and then the electric motor is going to bring another 65 horsepower, they're saying. So 495 horsepower in total with this new hybrid AMG, which is just kind of crazy to say. But yeah, so they're going to be calling them the 53 model. So, you know, there's currently like the E43 and the E63, same for the C-Class. So I think they say these new 53s will be replacing the 43s, which currently have a twin-turbo V6 engine that does about 396 horsepower. So almost an additional 100 horsepower here with these new 53 models. And I'm sure they're going to be more expensive, though, whenever you make that. So I feel like it's going to be a larger gap, you know, going from a standard, you know, C300 to a, you know, C53 AMG with a hybrid powertrain and electric motors and batteries and a more powerful gasoline engine than before. So I don't know if they're going to be pumping up the power figures here for the standard models or have a new mid model, because it seems like it's a little bit too large of a gap, but who knows? Anyway, you know, should make for much better performers. So the product planning, they're saying this is first going to start out, you know, like I said, with the CLS AMG, and then it's going to trickle down first to the E-Class Coupe, then the E-Class Convertible, and then the S-Class, and then most likely the C-Class, and I'm sure the SUVs will fit in there somewhere as well, but that's kind of how they're going to go, is kind of start towards the top and work their way down through the model range. But anyway, very interesting to see that. Speaking of hybrid and electric stuff, by the way, you might as well just get used to hearing about this stuff, because it's just, that's all the future vehicles are just going towards this stuff, and even performance models now we're seeing are going towards it as well. It's just, it's the way that it seems the future is taking us. So to go along with that, Volvo this past week just announced that all their new models that they're introducing from 2019 and beyond are only going to be available either as hybrids or as fully electric vehicles. So that means new models. Now they say they're going to be revealing 3 new Volvo models from 2019 to 2021, and those will be the first. And so any current models that are out, the S90, the XC90, all that kind of stuff, those are still going to be produced and available with only gasoline engines. It's just their new models, but obviously they will be phasing out these models eventually, and then they will be replaced by only hybrid and electric versions as well. But they're saying now the way Volvo does these hybrids, there's 3 different versions. There's the fully electric versions, there's the plug-in hybrid versions, which are a lot heavier on the hybrid, and then there's a 48-volt mild hybrid system, which I think will kind of just help with stop-and-go type deals, and also, you know, give maybe a mild boost, but it's a very mild system. The new A8 Audi is supposedly also going to have a similar type of system. We'll hear more about that next week. So the mild hybrid one, I mean, it's still going to be heavily relying on a gasoline engine, so it's not like everything's going completely like into a Tesla type of deal or anything, but this is the way they're headed, and this is just the start. You know, I'm sure, you know, they're going to eventually get rid of the mild hybrid and go to just fully, you know, plug-in stuff and fully electric down the road as well. But by 2019, that's kind of their plan. So I mean, none of this stuff is going to happen overnight, but here over the next few years, you're going to start seeing it's really gonna get pretty crazy. So other things, they also said, Volvo said in this press conference that Polestar, which is their performance division, is going to be exclusively fully electric for any new models going forward. They're going to have 2 new performance models they're launching between 2019 and 2021, and those 2 models will be completely electric, not hybrid or anything. They're just completely electric vehicles. So Volvo is taking it like our performance stuff is going to be only electric, and so the non-performance stuff will have the gasoline motors still in some form, you know, but that's it. So really, really crazy. But again, this is, again, like I'm saying, it's the sign of the times. This is what's happening these days. To go along with that news, France just this past week announced that they are planning to ban sales of gas and diesel vehicles by 2040. And so by 2040, you will not be able to buy a brand new vehicle with any kind of combustion engine, not even a hybrid. It's just, you have to buy completely electric by 2040. Now 2040 is obviously, you know, 23 years away, so this again is not happening overnight, but it's just this is why all these car companies are doing this, because we know, I think Norway wants to ban gas engine sales by I think 2025, which is really soon, but you know, France is a little more relaxed, 2040, and of course here in the United States, I'm sure we'll be a little bit behind that, because you know, Europe's usually a little more progressive as far as, you know, political stuff like this goes. So but it's just, again, it's just really, really crazy. And so this is why, especially all the European automakers are leading the charge here with all these electric vehicles, because that's where they're taking us. So anyway, other electric news here is Tesla, one of the biggest players. They have just announced, Elon Musk just tweeted out that Model 3 deliveries are going to be starting on July 28th, the end of this month, which is actually about 2 weeks or so ahead of when they were planning to. So they're getting them out even earlier than they were expecting to, and so that's really good. Now, when they say they're starting production, it's kind of a caveat, a technical type of thing, because they're only delivering 30 of them on the 28th. So, we heard how they're kind of bypassing the whole beta process, and they're not doing as much development testing as other car companies usually do. And so that's how they're rushing this thing to market, as by not working out all the kinks ahead of time. So it's going to be like an early adopter of other technological devices where you kind of have some bugs in it. So apparently these first 30, they're delivering them to customers, but there's talks that those customers are actually Tesla employees. They're going to be driving the wheels off of them and doing a lot of testing still on them that'll be implemented into future ones. And so, not really sure, but even still, regardless of who those first 30 customers actually are, they said that they're going to be delivering 100 cars in August. So again, tiny numbers, almost like a pre-production run kind of deal. And then they're going to do 1,500 they're going to be building in September. And by December, they're going to do actually 20,000 per month. That's the plan, at least. So realistically, they're not really getting into full swing production until September, and later. So, it's kind of like they're bragging, yeah, we're getting them built, but it's like these are really just like basically like early production, slowly built models, and they're only getting 30 out this month, and that's it. But cool nonetheless, and so great that they're kind of sticking to being on time there, but they're still way backed up. They're saying that the pre-orders, they didn't update the number of pre-orders they currently have for the Model 3, but they're saying that anyone that pre-orders one now shouldn't expect to take delivery until the end of 2018 at the earliest. So very, very much backed up, but cool to see them doing well, and so hopefully we'll start seeing these things on the streets before the end of the year. Another electric car, the Fisker, they've kind of had the karma for a while and just hasn't really sold very well, but they're continuing on somehow. They recently revealed this new EMotion, which is a very interesting looking fully electric vehicle. And so this one, they just announced this past week that they're now accepting pre-orders. You can put down $2,000 as a deposit for a pre-order on one of these. And the base price of these things is going to be $129,900. And it's very ambitious with their promises. They're claiming 400 miles of range per charge. You can get an additional 100 miles of range in 9 minutes with a proprietary charger. Who knows where you're going to find a Fisker charger outside of like downtown LA. At least Tesla's supercharger network's pretty well spread out, but if you can't use Tesla chargers, where are you going to use these things? So I still have a lot of reservations about the Fisker and if it's ever going to even be, successful. But anyway, it has autonomous technology as well. So it drives itself in certain situations. And again, just trying to be like a knockoff Tesla, essentially. But it's obviously, it's a good bit more expensive though here with, base price of $130,000. So, but anyway, interesting to see that nonetheless. And just whenever you thought that all the muscle cars and whatnot were dying off, Dodge is one of the last ones here still fighting for them, and they just released the pricing for the 2018 Dodge Durango SRT, which, was revealed earlier this year. Very exciting. It's the Durango that now finally has the 475 horsepower, 6.4-liter V8 from the Jeep Cherokee SRT, Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT. So anyway, the pricing for these Durangos are going to be $64,090, and that's the starting price there, including destination. And but they're pretty well equipped already. You can add on like a luxury package, and there's a tech package with TVs in the back seat and things like that you can add in. But for the most part, you shouldn't have to add too many options, so it shouldn't be too much higher than that 64,000, which is kind of steep, but I think it's right in line with, the Grand Cherokee SRT and stuff like that. And this is a little more usable because you get that third row. And so, honestly, I think it's the coolest 3-row vehicle you can buy currently. So anyway, cool to see that. They also say that you get a 1-day performance driving session at the Bondurant School of High Performance Driving, which is very cool. And anyway, these are going to be starting to arrive the fourth quarter of this year. So cool to see that. Maserati, they're kind of funny because, you know, they have the new Levante, which is doing pretty well for them because it's an SUV, and I mean, basically anyone can spit out an SUV these days and sell tons of them because that's everyone wants an SUV. So they're continuing on with their sports cars, though, but I'm just amazed that they even are bothering to invest in the Granturismo. Because this past week, they just announced the 2018 Maserati Granturismo refresh, that they've done a few changes to them. We only have 2 pictures of them. It was revealed at the New York Stock Exchange, of all places, and there's just 2 pictures of the front end, and that's it. So the rest of everything I'm telling you about it, you'll have to use your imagination for. I apologize. But as you can see there, it's got a new front bumper. It kind of looks like an F-Type R there, you know, as far as those huge gaping intakes there on both sides. And it's got a new grille that has a slightly better drag coefficient. It's the same 4.7 liter V8 engine, but it's now bumped up to 444 horsepower, or it's going from 444 horsepower to 456 horsepower. So you're getting an extra 12 horsepower, and then torque is bumped from 376 pound-feet to 384. So, I mean, but hey, at least it's some improvement. It's still going to be using the same old ZF 6-speed automatic transmission, which is the same transmission it's been having since its introduction almost 11 years ago. 11-year-old car that's still on the market, mostly the same. I mean, obviously they've made incremental updates over the years here, but still just a ZF 6-speed is just, I mean, come on, at least throw the 8-speed, and everyone has that these days. They're going to kind of pare it down. There's only going to be the Sport and MC models now. The Sport, they're saying does 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. The MC does it in 4.7 for whatever reason. And on the interior, they've done a few new changes. There's a new center console design that has a new button arrangement for driving modes and things like that. There's a new Harman Kardon sound system, and the biggest improvement is it's getting the new 8.4-inch Uconnect touchscreen. The Fiat Chrysler parts bin touchscreen that you can get in, you know, a Dodge Dart is going to be available here in the Gran Turismo. But the sad thing is, it's a huge upgrade to the Gran Turismo, which currently has a very dated infotainment system that is just was horrific even 5 years ago, let alone in 2017. And so thankfully they're putting that in. And so because of that new touchscreen, you get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and that really helps to update the interior there a lot. Again, I don't know what it looks like because they didn't give us any pictures of the interior, but sounds like a very great improvement. And that actually puts it now ahead of stuff like Jag, who still hasn't adopted Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and a few of the other manufacturers of sports cars who still don't have Apple CarPlay and stuff. So that's good news there. But yeah, it's just still an 11-year-old car. I mean, they need to just hurry up and get out, you know, something new here in the sports car realm for Maserati, because I don't know who's buying these Gran Turismos at this point, at least new. You know, I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is, so good luck to them at least. And the last thing is Hyundai has announced their 2018 model lineup and their plans for 2018 here. And among those plans, we learned that the Hyundai Azera is getting killed off. There is no 2018 model. 2017s are the end. And so the Azera is, you know, their large full-size thing, kind of like a Toyota Avalon competitor. And they kind of killed it off because they said it doesn't make much sense. The Sonata is so big and luxurious already and fully loaded trim that making the jump from a Sonata to a Genesis is a very easy thing to do, and they'd rather just have people go and buy a Genesis than the Azera. And so that market was just so small of a slim, slender slice of the market that they just are just getting rid of it. It will be available still in other markets, just not here in the United States. I think, you know, South Korea and other markets are actually getting a brand new Azera that's much improved and whatnot, but we're not getting that here. Also, there's not going to be a Hyundai Accent hatchback for the United States, at least not yet. We know we're getting an all-new Accent sedan, but no hatchback. It could come later, or they could just be getting rid of it, you know, completely. Because since everyone, you know, that wants a small car either gets a tiny little sedan or just goes up to an actual SUV, who knows? But anyway, so that's the plans there for that. Also, the interesting thing is the Veloster. They say they're going to have a very long 2017 model year, and there won't be a 2018 Veloster, but there will be a very early 2019 model Veloster instead. So it's going to be an all-new model. We've seen the N version of it testing, which is the sportier performance version. So I'm guessing there will also be a standard one. The N model, though, looked very similar to a current Veloster. So it might just be a mild restyle. You know, they're just sticking to the same funky kind of looks and just improving everything underneath. I don't really know, but what they're saying is there will be an all-new Veloster coming late this year or early next. And so deliveries of those will start sometime the following, next spring here. And so that's when we'll be seeing those. So anyway, very interesting news there. But that's it for all the news this week, guys. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below, including all this electric stuff that's increasingly getting more and more common and getting closer to being a reality here in this all-electric world in the future. Anyway, yeah, let me know your thoughts about all that in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care.